Hey everyone, welcome back to L2Games. It's Nick here, aka Nickels and Dimes, and today I want to welcome you to the first official episode of the L2Games podcast. This is something I've been meaning to start on the channel for a while. We did a test episode last week. So far, it seems like it's doing really well, so we're going to bring you another episode today. Before we go too far, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed in the last couple months. We just hit our 500 subscriber goal, and it's going really strong. The channel's growing a lot faster than I really expected it to. So, again, thank you so much. If you're new here today and watching the channel for the first time, if you enjoy the content you see here, please consider clicking that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing. It means a lot to me, and it'll help us grow the channel and keep producing content like this. So today I am joined by two of my very best friends and a couple of founding members of the L2Games family, my friends Kyle and Jason. Guys, welcome.
Hello.
Hi, I'm back.
I'm here
So,
for the first time.
so before we go too far, maybe you guys want to introduce yourselves a little bit. Tell us who you are, what kind of games you like. We'll start with you, Jason, since you haven't been on this before.
Hi, my name is Jason. I really like games where I can just play and compete with my friends. So been absolutely ripping up Mario Golf lately. It's been the obsession. But mostly I just play games to hang out with my pals. So, hanging out in GTA, shooting people up, absolutely taking my girlfriend to town in Clubhouse games because she's just absolutely bad at it.
Good
All
thing you
good
added
stuff,
in
so anything that I
Clubhouse
can-
games there.
That's going to be an absolutely atrocious soundbite that will come back to haunt me.
But I can't think of any better reason to play games. And of course, Kyle, now to you.
Hi, I'm Kyle. I was on episode 0 talking about Avengers. So that was fun. Thanks for having me back.
Of course, thank you for coming
what
back.
what kind of games do I like? I'm kind of in the same boat as Jason. I like the multiplayer fun games. I like games you could just throw on whenever and for however long and just have a good time regardless. But I also do enjoy the occasional story game that I can dive in for like 3 straight days of just hours upon hours of play, completely crush through the whole story, and then just be sad afterwards. Um, but yeah, I should also plug that Jason and I are the hosts of the Snubs and Doves podcast. We are now on episode 2 of our new season. It is going really well, and I invite you all to listen after you listen to this podcast.
It's quality content, so absolutely, please go check it out. So before we get started with today's episode, I just want to tell everyone a little bit about why I wanted to do this podcast. And it basically comes back to having a passion for gaming and knowing that it can be such a huge, impactful part of someone's life. A lot of people write it off as just some nerdy hobby. I know I've had mostly, older folks in my family, like my parents, telling me it's a waste of time and money, but really you can make real connections with gaming. You can form real memories. Um, if I can take a moment here to share one of those. Um, just last year, I lost an uncle of mine who was very, very close to me. And one of the last memories I have of him, and I have a video saved on my phone of this, is of him playing No Man's Sky in VR. And seeing the look on his face that he got from it and just the sheer joy he got from flying around in a spaceship just was so meaningful to me. And so I want to share moments like that and thoughts and conversations on games with the community at large. So that is why we're doing this. I'm happy to be able to bring you the first official episode. And so, with that said, today's topic, in honor of this being the first episode, is going to be gaming firsts. So let's get it started. I'm going to start with, what is the first video game console you have owned? So Jason, let's start with you. What's the first gaming console you owned?
Nintendo 64.
And anything you can tell us about your experience with the N64, any poignant memories?
Oh, I mean, tons. I remember that I was only ever allowed to play 30 minutes worth of games each day. But then when I was just old enough to realize that no one ever kept track of that except for myself, I just started playing more. And I remember distinctly, I was playing like Super Smash Bros. Melee, and there's like the classic mode where
Melee?
you go through. I think was it not Melee?
No,
Which
no,
one
that
was
was
it?
on the
It
GameCube.
was the original Super Smash Bros.
It was yeah, it was
Unless
original
you're
Super Smash
just
Bros.
jumping ahead.
Yeah, I was playing the original Super Smash Bros. My bad.
Sorry
And
to
there was, like,
actually you and your story, but
it's weird that I remember this being my first gaming story and not Kyle. That's odd. But yeah, I remember playing through like the classic mode where you have to progress through a bunch of stages and beat the boss at the end. And I remember like I would just beat a bunch of those when I was playing, and my sister would be like, "Jason, how do you beat those? Like, we're only allowed to play for half an hour." And I just like told her, I let her in on this earth-shattering secret. I cheated, and I would just play longer. And that's like my most memorable experience was just shattering her world image that you could just do that.
Kyle, how about you? First console you owned?
I don't know if this counts. My first gaming like hardware was a Game Boy Color.
Okay,
And I didn't
that
actually get
counts.
my first like console until I got also an N64. Both were actually hand-me-downs from my cousins who were like really into Nintendo games at the time. But once they kind of got over it and moved on and were getting a little bit older, they passed them down to me and my sister. And so the first thing I had was the Game Boy Color with Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Red. And that was it. I think those were the only two games that I had, and my sister and I had to share. And so I think because we got red and yellow, we each took on one and played through it for a while. And then when we beat it, we switched the game and played on like the other color of Pokemon game. But Pokemon will probably come up a few times in this because a lot of where my gaming journey began was through through Pokemon.
That's such an awesome story. I loved Pokemon growing up too. Me and my brother, we couldn't share like you and your sister, so we had two copies of Pokemon Yellow. We had to have our own Game Boy Colors, and we had to play them separately. But Pokemon was one of those games where, if you were playing it in elementary school, you'd take it outside at recess with your Game Boy, and everyone had a link cable and doing trades on the playground. So much fun.
I actually have a bad story about doing that though. There was this one kid. This was in elementary, a few years after, and I had my Game Boy Advance at that point, and so I had a copy of Pokemon Ruby. And I say had because I let one of my quote friends play it at recess, and then when I went to go find him to get my like Game Boy Advance back and my game back, he like disappeared, and I was like, where the fuck is this kid? I didn't say that, but like because I was like 9 or 10, but like I was like, where is this kid? And so I didn't want to really say anything because I didn't want to accuse him of stealing it. But eventually, I just get a call in the overcom, or is that what I mean? Like
Intercom.
the principal, yeah, intercom. That's what I mean. Yeah, and it was like, "Can you please come to the office?" And I was like, "Oh shit! Like I'm in trouble." And so I go to the office, and I go up to the lady, and she was like, "This was yours, and somebody returned it, and it was my Game Boy." And I was like, "What the fuck?" So I, took it gladly because I thought maybe it had gotten stolen or lost or something. But the game was gone.
Oh,
This
No,
motherfucker took the game and ran.
he did.
And I remember asking him about it afterwards. I was like, "Hey, like, did you see my game?" And he was like, "No, I don't know where it went. Sorry." But this motherfucker took my Pokemon Ruby and all of my fucking time in it, and I think I never gave a game out to a friend ever since then.
Yeah, what is it with
You
kids and
got
being
burned.
shady about the Game Boy Advance Pokemon games? I had a friend who told me he would sell me a used copy of Pokemon Emerald for $5. I gave him the $5 and he ran.
What a what a dick!
Yeah, seriously. Okay, as for
Yeah.
me, my first video game console was the Nintendo 64. classic console. Some of my best memories are of sitting down and playing games on that with my dad. Mostly we'd play like Donkey Kong 64, Mario 64. Also a lot of GoldenEye with me and my brother, and a lot of tears over getting slapped for screen cheating and stuff like that, and a lot of scuffles over that kind of thing. But I think the thing
Yeah.
that I remember most about my N64 was that it had these little vent slots on it right in front of the cartridge port, just for like for venting the system. And to
Mhm.
me and my brother, for some reason, being the idiot kids that we were, we thought they looked suspiciously like the coin slot on an arcade machine.
Oh my God, I was just gonna say, did you put coins in them?
We
Everyone would put coins in them.
yes, we some
No,
I don't know how
not
we managed to
everyone
do
puts them.
this. I don't know how we
Who
managed
put
this, but
coins in it?
well, somehow we managed to take a quarter and work it into this vent slot, and it just got stuck inside the console, and it was just there
Yeah.
permanently. It stayed there for years until one day my sister was cleaning up and she didn't know how much care we took of this N64 to keep it alive as long as we did. But she picks it up and she's
Yeah.
tossing it around and trying to clean, and I guess the coin slipped out of its place and shorted out the circuit board, and that is how my N64 died. It was a week after I
Oh
managed to track
no.
down a copy of Majora's Mask for the N64 and a RAM expander, so I was pretty livid about it.
Aw. I, Jason, I actually didn't put the coin in my N64, but it was a common thing that people did because of that slot. And in fact, the N64 that I inherited from my cousins, it had a toonie in the bottom of it. So somehow, sometime, they managed to wiggle a toonie into the console. And for the entire lifespan of me and my sister having this N64 console, there was a toonie underneath within the console. So, yeah,
What did
there's
you
Well,
definitely a
what
theme.
extra feature did you expect was like pay to unlock in the console that you own and have at your house? Were you hoping that like
Jason, you're
if
you're
that
talking
kicked in
to a
like
Yeah.
the
guy
4K graphics?
you're talking to a guy who, as a kid, thought that writing the name of a game on a floppy disk would mean I had that game even if the game didn't exist.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We all had N64s. Does anyone have like a very distinct memory of the N64? Nick, you mentioned just playing games with your dad and with your brother. Jason, did you have anything? Because I have like one very distinct memory regarding Smash Bros.
Okay, there's one quick one. So we had Diddy Kong Racing, and when you were playing that game to beat the giant pig dude, I don't know the lore. I don't know anyone's name. Giant pig dude is like the arch nemesis of the game, and you have to beat him in races. But he's like 20 stories tall, runs on foot, and you're driving a car past him. And I couldn't, for the life of me, even come close to beating him. He'd finish the race before I even got the start line. So I'd always just get my dad to do it for me. And whenever my dad tried to play those games to beat him, I learned swears. I discovered what a raging, like, what a heated gaming moment looked like. So he taught me some valuable life lessons.
Nice. Yeah, I remember trying to unlock all the characters in Smash 64, particularly Mewtwo. And I think because this was before, like you could just go on your phone and look up how to unlock a character and watch a YouTube tutorial of how to lock all the characters in 10 minutes or something. Like, I think I had to like learn it through like a game guide or like through word of mouth, like from a friend of a friend.
Was
And
Mewtwo in
we learned
Smash
that,
64? I thought he was in Melee.
oh, maybe this was
Or-
Melee. Oh, you know what? You're right. It is Melee. I'll
Actually,
continue with the
Kyle, you're
story
thinking
here.
about Melee.
Shut up!
Hold
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Shut up!
sorry to actually
That's
you
the
in the middle
wrong
of your
Smash
story.
Bros.
Damn it! Okay, well, let me finish my
And it
story because I'm
comes
not
full
going to tell it
circle.
later. Um, but you had to play like 30 hours or something, or like you had to have like some sort of stupid limit, like extreme time on a single game. And so my sister and I left the game on overnight, on like a school night, because we figured that you know, we set it to like a time, and we were like playing against each other, so there was no way we could die.
Mhm.
And so by the time we woke up, like one of us just jumped off the edge, and sure enough, we would encounter Mewtwo. And like this is in the morning on like a fucking Wednesday or something. So my mom is upstairs like telling us that we have to get up and get ready and we got to go to school or whatever. And like we're down here just like screaming because we are trying to unlock Mewtwo. And I remember we had to do that like 2 or 3 times at night because we couldn't beat him in the first time. Oh, that's so frustrating. But yes, sorry, that was the GameCube. You're right.
Okay, so we're going to move on here to the next gaming first. We've kind of touched on this a bit already, but what is the first game you remember playing? So Kyle, let's start with you this time.
I mean, yeah, I kind of answered that in the first with the console. It was Pokemon Yellow, and I like distinctly remember like getting Pikachu and like walking around with him, and like when you're a kid and you're playing these games for the first time, like it feels amazing. Like the graphics, they're you can't believe what you're seeing on the screen, especially when it went to color. Like I think Pokemon Yellow was in color, right?
It
There's
was in
some other
color,
games
but
that were...
like the background was all one color. Like each different city was a
Yeah.
different color. So it wasn't true color in the sense that every different pixel had a different color.
Hmm. Yeah, and so like I remember that, and I also remember playing like Smash and Mario Kart on the N64, but also Coliseum, Pokemon Coliseum on the N64 because we had that device that you could transfer your Pokemon over, and I think there was another one that you could kind of play with the Game Boy through the N64 through some sort of like adapter and plug-in and whatnot.
I miss
And
Pokemon
those I
Coliseum.
remember.
It was so cool to be able to see 3D
Yeah.
Pokemon for the first time.
Oh my God, it was so cool. But yeah, Pokemon is the first game I really remember playing.
Okay, Jason, how about you?
I'm trying to remember like which was the first, but I just remember like 4 or 5 games that I had on N64 that I was playing at about the same time. It was um, Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, Smash Bros. I think like a Mario Kart and Diddy Kong Racing. I think maybe Diddy Kong Racing was the first one I played. It was either that or Ocarina of Time, but no matter which game it was, I remember playing all 5 of those and really not fully being able to conceptualize like what a video game was. So even if there was objective or goals, I had a blast just sprinting in a circle and hitting the jump button a couple times. Like if anyone watched me as a child learning how to play video games, there'd be no events. There'd be no like going anywhere. I would just stay in one room and just like run around because I have no idea what like you're supposed to do in a game. And I was loving it. I was living for it. Be like, hell yeah, half an hour of
Yeah.
hitting the A button. Let's go.
To go off of that, my first game that I played was Ocarina of Time. My parents bought it for me for Christmas when I was 3 years old. I don't know what they were thinking getting a 3-year-old a
Oh.
video game, but I had absolutely no idea how to play this game. And I remember just running around in the forest area you start in nonstop for hours on end, thinking, oh my God, these graphics are so cool. He looks just like a real person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just
Triangular nosed motherfucker.
yeah. And I did that for hours, and I don't think I made any progress in the game. I don't think I ever beat it until I was 10 years old. So it took me 7 years to
Wow.
beat this game.
Yeah, did you get your console quite early in its lifespan then? Because like I kind of mentioned, mine were handed down, and so I didn't actually get into like the consoles until they were kind of on their way out in terms of like their
Yeah,
lifespan.
I think we
Like
got
that's
it.
probably why I remember the GameCube being so close to the N64 in my head because I didn't actually get it until it was almost time for that GameCube to come out anyways.
Yeah, I think we got ours in 1996, around the time when Super Mario 64 came out. I know my brother had a Super Nintendo before that. So,
Right.
yeah, I think it was fairly new when we got it.
My family had one for like, I think basically like not long after I was born, they probably got an N64. So that would probably have been like
Mm.
97 or 98 or something like that. So it was always around. But my parents, for some reason, they used to play video games. They haven't touched one in like 20 years, but they used to game. They used to be
Hmm.
into that. So I kind of like was used to just seeing them play. And then eventually, when I was allowed a controller, like basically had to figure out what a video game really actually meant, other than just like watching someone else play it like a TV show.
Okay, so moving on here, and again, this is something we've kind of touched on a bit now with how these conversations have been going, but first gaming memory. So not necessarily the best one or the most poignant, but the first memory you have of playing video games. So Jason, I'll hand it over to you this time.
Definitely, I remember my dad furthering my language by trying to beat the stupid pig guy in Diddy Kong Racing. But in general, I think I spent so much time on like the first world of Mario 64. That's like my first concrete memory. Is before I realized there was like other rooms and things you could do, I would just run through the castle doors, sharp left, through that room, and then just go hang out in like that bomb world, doing like the exact same missions over and over again, without realizing that there was a further game. Like I think my dad just showed me how to get into that room, and then from there, that was
Nice.
all I ever cared to do. So I could probably, eyes closed, like draw that map exactly to scale. Could walk around it still knowing all the distances because I probably put like 100 hours over like months as a small child, just like running around there and just like dying because I didn't know how to do anything else.
I think I had the
Nice.
same problem with that game, but is there really anything wrong with that? Because the music in that level is just so catchy. It's iconic.
It's so good. It's like you can do some foot races, you can fight a big boss dude, you can just run around collecting coins. Like that was the extent of gaming. That's already millions of people have lived and died never knowing that much of a video game, and god damn it, we were thankful for what we had.
Okay, Kyle, how about you? First gaming memory.
It's hard to say because I can remember like generally playing like games like Pokemon and like playing the N64 on this like tiny tube TV that was in this like corner unit in my basement. Jason, do you remember that at all?
I think
We
so,
like
yeah.
ripped it out when we did like basement
Oh,
renovations one year,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there was like
yeah.
sparks that came out of the wall.
I remember that little station, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
I remember playing on that, but I can't like tell you a specific memory. Like I can envision like looking up at it with the N64 controller in my hand, sitting in this like wooden circular chair, um, and like holding the Game Boy console. But I couldn't exactly remember like what specific memory. But yeah, that's probably what I have to say about it.
My dad used to play GoldenEye a lot, and I was really scared of like that blood that comes over the screen. So I thought like I was terrified that you saw that when you died, that like your vision would just get the like stupid pan down of red
Like in
blood.
real life.
Yeah, like in real life, like when you die, the last thing you see is like James Bond gunning you down, and then just like a red top to bottom pan. So that game legitimately
Awesome.
scared me because like I learned to reckon with life and death because of that game's stupid dying screen.
I think for me, yeah, like you said, Kyle, it's hard to pinpoint just one specific memory, but the first thing I think about when I'm thinking gaming memories is sitting down with my dad and playing Donkey Kong 64. I remember I was not good at the game at all, and somehow he was always able to go through every level and collect all bananas, unlock all the characters. So I always wanted to play on his save so I could play with all the different characters because I didn't know how to unlock anyone. I was completely lost.
Yeah. You just, but you're also like more entertained by simpler things. So you don't like, even though you don't know how to do that, you almost like don't
Yeah.
care to figure it out. You'd rather just have like an older sibling or your parent do it for you, so you can just have like the small fun part and not work for anything.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think there's
it's
like a joy in watching games too. Like, do you guys ever look at like these nostalgic photos of like a group of kids sitting around a TV with one kid playing a game? Like, and do you remember
yeah.
doing that? Because
Oh
I
yeah,
remember doing that, like watching people play single player games because it was just fun. And I think that's why like gaming YouTube, Nick, is like so big right now. And like in today's day and age, because people still like to watch people play games and they get a lot of joy through that vicarious experience. um, but yeah, like I think that also equally carries the joy of actually playing a game. I think that is, and I think people struggle to understand that sometimes, like why do you enjoy watching someone play a video game, and I don't know if I could really explain it. Like, do
yeah.
you guys have an explanation?
Sometimes I
really.
just really like the person playing, and their commentary is worthwhile watching the game. It's just like it's such a chill thing to listen to because I know I mostly care about the audio, which is kind of why like I got really into podcasts afterwards. I kind of like stemmed from like gaming YouTube because I realized that the visuals were like not as important to me as the people playing it. But it's just like a
Yeah.
nice, to me, like an easy to watch kind of thing, not too heavy. I also watched a lot of fighting game, video game gameplay because I could
Yeah.
never land a single punch. Like I had Marvel vs. Capcom. We tried to learn that back in like high
We
school,
really
and
did.
I sucked. I never understood it. So I love watching people who could actually like do well in those games play them because it was it's the only way I could actually enjoy a
It's
fighting game.
impressive. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been actually really hard on that for a little while. Like I remember we would come to my house at lunchtime during high school because I bought a gaming stick. I think we collectively bought a gaming stick,
We
didn't we?
did,
Or was that
yeah.
just me and Andrew?
No,
Yeah,
that was all
because
three of us.
yeah, and I think Andrew has that now, or I don't know where it's ended up, but because we really wanted to be good. And like we
Yeah.
would play each other and we would try to play online. And that was another instance of watching people play games because we only had one stick. And
Yeah.
so I think we went online or played against CPUs and at lunchtime we were just like watching each other play in high
Hmm.
school. And like so
Yeah.
this is it's a curious thing.
I don't know. For me, I've never really been that into watching people play. I feel like I'm such a competitive person that I feel like I have to play it, and so I don't normally like watching like other streamers do stuff. Lately, I have been watching it more. I've been watching a lot of Tim the Tatman just because his commentary on Warzone and Apex is so damn funny. But
Yeah.
for me, I've never really gotten the same feeling out of watching someone play. But to your point about some people not liking the challenge of games, one of the things I used to love to do was use cheat codes. I mean, I remember
Oh yeah.
games back in the day, all of them had cheat codes, and you don't really see them anymore. But like infinite
Yeah.
ammo, infinite health, spawn in a Hydra in GTA San Andreas and go nuts. One of
Yeah.
the
Did you
one
ever
of my
have an
favorite things to
action
do.
replay for your DS or something? Or I think
Yeah,
GameCube even had
yeah, I
action
did.
replays before. Yeah,
Yep,
I
I
had an action
used the
replay for the
action replay
DS.
to spawn in myself all shiny legendary Pokemon and then trade them
Yep.
online for people's legit Pokemon.
Awesome. Yeah, I
That's
did that too.
incredible. I think like the inverse for me, I'm not very competitive with video games. Generally, I'm an absolute idiot when I play them because I'm not great. I don't pay enough attention to what's going on, and I just prefer to dick around than actually like contribute to whatever mission we're accomplishing. So I do kind of
Yeah.
like watching people who are good at a game and seeing what people who like have practice and like skill and talent do. Like basically like when we play Apex, I'll just be like lollygagging around, just kind of watching Nick like wipe out 17 people with one handgun and like a broken belt, and I just sit there with like full ammo,
Yeah.
like whatever great gun I picked up, like too scared to do anything because I'm just gonna die anyway, so I'll just watch.
Yeah, I'm not like that obsessed or that interested in getting to that level, like getting to the level where you have to spend like hours a day playing a game to be like just better than everybody. Like that's not me. I'm kind of in the same boat as Jason, but I do like being good at a game. Of course, as anyone would like to be good at something, and I like to be like win, obviously. But yeah, it doesn't bother me watching other people that are higher skilled, and it impresses me really. Yeah,
Mhm. All right, so
which
we're
is
gonna
why I
move
like
on.
watching L2 Games.
We're a
Oh,
big fan of
oh, oh,
L2Games.
thank you,
We love
thank
the
you.
premium content. He's so good.
Oh, I appreciate it.
It
So
is
we're
actually
gonna.
funny watching Nick's side of an Apex game sometimes because,
Yeah.
like, I'll be like, I'll know what I was doing during that moment, and I just watch Nick absolutely shred like three guys in a row, and I'm like, I'm here now, like
It's
I
like,
can
oh,
help.
there's my dead body on screen.
Yeah,
Nice little cameo.
yeah. I'm like pinging a guy he's clearly shooting at already. I'm like, he's...
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next gaming first. This one is a little more into the negative side, so we're gonna go first game you ever hated for any reason. You just didn't like the graphics, thought it was a stupid game, but first game you remember thinking, God, I cannot stand that.
Okay, I got one real quick. So, for I think it was the PlayStation 2. My parents got my sister and I like a refurbished copy or whatever it's called of Rayman Raving. No, it was a Rayman game. It wasn't one of the Rabbit ones. It was just one of the Rayman games. But for some reason, this absolute trash reject of a game, it couldn't save. There was either I was too stupid to figure out how to save, which I don't
Oh
think that was the
no.
case, or every time you saved, it would just corrupt the file and you'd restart. But for some reason, I was locked into combat with this game, and I was determined to find a way to save my progress to keep playing. But all I would ever do is redo the same part of the game, and I would just keep doing that over and over because it wouldn't save, but I thought it would when I was done, and I'd come back the next day. So after maybe a solid like 2 weeks of trying to like accomplish anything in this game that I can redo, I just never touched it again. I put that thing like face down at the bottom of like the game shelf, and I would not look at it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Wow.
I don't really know if there was a game from like my childhood that I really hated. I used to rent games. You guys used to do that too, right?
Oh,
Like,
all
the
would you go
time.
to like Blockbuster or Rogers Video and rent a game? So if I wasn't sure about a game, I would rent it, and if I didn't like it, I wouldn't buy it or I wouldn't rent it again, or Or we used to rent games from the library. Did you do that?
I don't know
No.
if I ever did from the
Really?
library. Yeah.
It was a
There were
pain
always
in the
some
ass
there, but
because
they
it
always
was
had
like,
a terrible selection. Like it'd always be like
yeah.
some random like Just Dance or something like that that I have zero interest in.
Like that's the
Yeah.
place where you find a broken copy of Rayman.
Oh, 100%.
That would
Um,
be one of the premium content in the library.
but the one game that I truly remember hating and having like a deep loathing for is a pretty recent one, Fallout 4.
Really?
I fucking
Wow.
hate that game, and there's a story behind it
I'm
too
kind of
because
hurt.
I was really excited because I
I
was a
need to
big
hear
Skyrim
this.
fan and I wanted to get into like Fallout because I was, I'd seen the series online, I was looking at it, I was really excited about it. So I take the day off, and I ordered it on Amazon. And so I that was my first mistake because I having being an active Blu-ray purchaser from Amazon, usually they would show up around the same time every day, and so I kind of expected it to be from around like 10 to 12 because that's when they usually show up in my house. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna order it. I can sleep in a little bit. It'll show up around noon. I can play it for the rest of the evening, and I can just make a day of it. 12 o'clock rolls around, still no game. 2 o'clock rolls around, still no game. 8 o'clock rolls around, still no game. And so now we're past the hours of when it's supposed to be delivered. It actually does get delivered at like 9 o'clock. And so at this point, I'm already sick of it. And I open the game and I plug it in, and it has to do its little download thing, classic. And by the time I'm actually getting into it, I think it's like after 10. And so I'm already frustrated. And I get into the game, and it's just shit. Like the graphics were horrible. It was taking forever to load. There was just random fucking artifacts all over the place. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I like tried to play for like a good like 2, 3 weeks, and I just was so frustrated with by the end of it that I literally traded it in to EB Games while the value was still high because I could not like fathom spending another minute in Fallout 4. I couldn't
Wow.
do it.
I'm
And
amazed by
so,
that
yeah.
because I really liked Fallout 4. I know a lot of people give it shit, but damn, that feels like it's more Amazon's fault than the game.
Well, okay.
I think you're getting
They
projecting
set
here.
me up for failure, but I did give it a proper go. I really tried to like it, and every moment I spent in it, it was just like, when you're watching like a TV show and you want to like it but it's bad, and so you don't want to like go to the next episode because, or like you're watching it and you don't even know why you're sitting there because
Hmm.
like you could be spending your time doing
Yeah.
something else. That's how I felt with Fallout 4 because like I didn't want to go play it at the end of the day, but I did go play it because I had purchased it for like $80 or whatever the cost was at the time. And so I felt like I needed to play it. And when I was playing it, I didn't want to do anything that was going on in it, and everything that was going on in it frustrated me. And so eventually I just put it down and I didn't want to pick it back up again. And that was that. Yeah.
Wow. For me, first game I ever hated, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer for the Wii. I have to specify for the Wii. Now, to give a bit of backstory on
Okay,
this,
you set yourself up for failure the entire way through. Every
I,
word was worse.
so this was back in a time when I was still naive enough to think not only were movie tie-ins passable as video games, because if you've ever played the Spider-Man 2 video game, that was actually a pretty good movie tie-in, and a lot of people still love it to
Yeah,
this
and it set
day.
the bar high for everything else.
Yeah, so I figured, got to be the same experience, right? I also made the mistake of thinking that the Wii game would be the same visual quality as the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions. And I don't know
Oh
if that was
no.
my fault or if they actually used some images in the marketing of the game from the Xbox 360 version for the Wii version. But when I put this game into my Wii, it looked nothing like what I expected it to. It looked like absolute garbage. It was so washed out. And it took me, I swear, all of 5 hours to beat this game. The story has absolutely nothing to do with Rise of the Silver Surfer. You're fighting Skrulls the whole time, who never made an appearance in a Marvel movie until Captain Marvel, so that was wrong. And then, at the end of this 5 hours, it's just over. There's no build up to the end of the
Yep.
game. It just ends like that, and I was so caught off guard by that. I was like, did I actually already finish this game? And I still wasn't. I wouldn't say I was very good at video games at this time. I was still like 12 or 13, and I just I was stunned by how quickly that was over. And I was like, man, I want my money back because this was not worth it at all. I got 5 hours. I might as well have gone and watched the Fantastic Four movies for what that's worth.
Oh my God, that would have been more pain, if not the same amount of pain. I think that those sort of movie tie-in games, they're kind of dead now
Yeah,
because
they've
people
really
expect
died
a
out.
certain standard of quality. And I think when back in the day when you were buying them on the Wii and I was buying them, like I bought like the Iron Man video game on the Wii. Um, like that was like the shit. Like you would capitalize on that marketing moment of
Hmm.
the movie coming out with a cheaply made, completely tossed together half-ass video game that you could sell for millions of dollars and then just not have to worry about ever again. Now, if you did that, you would absolutely be ripped to shreds online
Hmm.
and just completely ridiculed.
Yeah, I think the last couple of movie tie-in games I remember coming out were Captain America Super Soldier and Thor God of Thunder, both again Marvel tie-in games.
Wasn't that Super Soldier one pretty decent though? Like the Captain America one?
I'm not sure. I never actually played it, but it looked like it was all right. Like I'd been waiting a long time for a good Captain America game, but I never ended up actually playing it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think I remember watching it online and it looked actually kind of fun, but I never bothered picking it up and I wouldn't now because it was like for the Xbox 360 or Wii or something.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next first. First game you chose not to finish. So Jason, why don't we start with you?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. There was a lot of games where I was trying to make the choice to finish. I just never got around to doing it.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, I want to clarify here since you bring that up. First game you choose not to finish, so not something where you just didn't have the time to finish it and got a backlog, or you got really sick or something and just couldn't play it or something. A game where you looked at it and said, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not playing this again.
I'm trying to. Okay, this is going to be a controversial one because we've already given it so much love, but I could not finish any Pokemon game I have ever started. As soon as I get to the part where I need to grind to beat the Elite Four, what
Yeah,
is it called at the end of the game? Elite
Elite
Yeah,
Four?
Four.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
The
Elite
Elite
Four.
Four? Yeah, I stopped caring. I don't have the patience. It's not fun anymore. I just take my whatever level like 62 absolute monster that could beat every single thing. It's like, okay, I got to kill 5,000 just little animals trying to live their best life in the grass. Poor little dudes who have not done me no wrong. I need to go clear and commit like an entire war crime against that whole population just so I can beat 4 people. No, I
Yeah.
don't want to do that. I have gotten basically the whole story done. That's good enough for me.
I hear what you're saying, Jason, and I kind of feel like that now. I think as like when I was younger, because Pokemon was my introduction to gaming, I was so into everything about it for the longest time. And that's why like through most generations, I would say even given up to Sun and Moon, I would not only grind through the entire story and finish Elite Four, but I would spend a significant amount of time after the game, grinding for like competitive EVs, breeding, all this random shit. Like, and I would spend like 200 plus hours in like each Pokemon game. Now, I couldn't even finish the Sword and Shield DLC.
Yeah.
Couldn't bring me to do that. So I think you have to be a certain type of person with a certain level of patience to do
Although,
that.
to be
And
fair, I think that kind of speaks to the quality of Pokemon games and how it's dipped in the last few years. I know that's not the focus of this, but I mean, for me, I used to love the grind of the Pokemon games too. It felt like there was a real
yeah,
challenge to the Elite Four in like Pokemon Yellow. Getting past your rival at the end was the hardest battle in all of Pokemon to this day. Still, like, there was an
yeah,
actual legitimate challenge to it. Nowadays, the grind is so much less satisfying because the games have
yeah,
become a little too kid friendly and very hand holdy. And so you kind of just
yeah.
breeze right through it, and it's not as satisfying anymore like, you don't feel like you've earned anything through the grind. You haven't worked towards a
You
goal.
don't
You
feel
kind
the
of just
sense
got
of
handed it.
pride and accomplishment.
Nope.
Yeah, I remember like the first time I
Yeah.
ever played the Elite Four, because I had gotten up to the point I was feeling pretty good. I'm like, hell yeah, I basically am the Pokemon Master. No one can stop me. And then I tried the Elite Four for the first time and absolutely embarrassed myself. Like all of us are basically upstage. All of my Pokemon, I just got pants in front of like everyone we've ever known and loved.
Yeah.
And I decided, you know what, this ain't for me because this is going to take like 20 levels to fix, and I just don't have that kind of attention span. In all
Mm-mm.
honesty, I need something that's brighter and flashier to hold my attention now. I'm already
Yeah.
moving on.
Nick, I think you got a Pokemon episode in your catalog eventually, but
Yep.
we should
Yeah.
probably. I for mine, the one that I haven't finished. That's an interesting question. I can't actually remember far back because usually when I got a game, it was pretty big deal. I didn't get a lot of games, or I would rent a lot of games, and so I guess with like renting or from the library, I sometimes couldn't finish a game because I didn't have enough time to.
Yeah,
Oh,
those
But
I
it's one
kind
of
of
the
want to
best
with
feelings
exclude
when you
here
could.
yeah,
because rentals obviously like that was a big thing when we were growing up, and I'm sure there are a lot of games that we
yeah,
just didn't have the time to finish.
yeah, and so like the games that I haven't or like literally put down didn't really happen until like later on when I was spending my own money on games
Hmm.
really. And the one that I can distinctly remember is also a recent one, even more recent than Fallout 4, but it was Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Okay, really, that's
Like
surprising because I heard a lot
yeah,
of good things about it.
I did too, and that's why I was very interested in playing it. And that's why I like asked for it for Christmas one year when I had gotten my Switch. I was really excited to play it, and I gave it a 50-hour go, and I just had to put it down because it was another one of those where the grind was just too like it just wasn't fun because it's not a turn-based game per se. It's like an action RPG, but you're not like button mashing or spamming combos with your sword. It's all like timing based commands. And so like you'll have like it's almost like a quick time event each time you're playing an
Oh,
encounter with like a
oh,
monster.
yeah, I don't
And
like
so
that.
no, I didn't like it either. And so I like I said I gave it a proper go, but like still to this day it's like I actually think I traded it in because I just couldn't see myself finishing it. Yeah.
See, I have a hard time with trading games in, even if I don't finish them, because something in my mind tells me, like, oh, just hang on to it. You might go back and play it eventually, even though I never have, especially with the game I chose for this, which is Dragon Age Inquisition. It got
Oh yeah.
so much critical acclaim. I still to this day do not understand why. Dragon Age Origins, the first game in the series, was really good. It was a really deep RPG. I'm not a fan of games with turn-based combat, so that was the only thing that kind of turned me off of it. But story-wise, it was incredible. Dragon Age Inquisition, for all the appreciation it got, I am so confused as to what critics like. Who paid them off? Because there's no way this game got Game of the Year from as many gaming journalism outlets as it did. It was the most boring story ever because it takes at least 20 hours to get anywhere in the story. And by the time I got to that 20th hour, like especially if you're playing side quests, you've run into so many bugs and glitches and uh, really not so great map design that it just becomes a chore to try and get any further. And so, like, I don't care about any of these characters. I don't care about the relationships. Your story hasn't done anything to engage me, so I'm not going to keep playing it. And so that was the game that I put on my shelf, and to this day, I haven't touched again. But yeah, it just did not do it for me in any way.
I think I've realized in like my more adult life now that I need to be pretty selective with the games that I pick because of the time that I have to put into them, especially JRPGs. I've really
Hmm.
wanted to like JRPGs. Like I bought obviously Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I bought Dragon Quest 11. I bought Persona 5, all games which are really highly critically acclaimed, and I just haven't been able to invest myself deep enough to play them all through to their entirety because of just I don't know the style of it, the feel. I don't know what it is, but I think I am going to avoid those from here on out, and not
Yeah.
because I don't have respect for the craft of them and the vast amount of effort and into the story and the world that they do. I just can't get into them and I can't finish them.
Hmm. I think that's not just exclusive to JRPGs, but RPGs in general. They're really a slow burn, and so you really have to have that time that you're able to dedicate to them. And I think as we get older, we obviously have a lot less time as we have more responsibilities to make that commitment to those kind of games. Okay, so moving on to
Hmm.
That's
the
a fair
next
point.
category here. Um, First game you ever got all the achievements for or got the platinum trophy in.
It's actually another recent one because I didn't usually go out of my way to do that until one specific game, and it was Spider-Man PS4. I platinumed it and I got all the achievements for every DLC and every inch of that game I completed to its entirety. But that was the first and actually only game that I've platinumed in my gaming life.
And do you find that's a game that you feel like inclined to go back and play again?
Yeah, 100%. I could play through that story multiple times because it is one of the best Spider-Man stories in ever, and it also has one of the best gameplay, I guess, loops, or just like gameplay feel, gameplay style, fighting style in
Mhm.
like any of the video games that I've played. I love it. Oh, I also did Miles, which wasn't actually that hard. Um,
Yeah,
so I guess it's not the only one that I've platinumed, but
and I mean
Miles
that's
was
kind
like
of
kind of
a
a big expansion
spin-off
Spider-Man.
tie-in, so it kind of counts as the same game. But it's interesting
Yeah,
because like with games that I platinum personally, I find that those are the games I want to go back and play again, even if I've got the platinum trophy already. People talk about trophies and stuff adding replayability to games, but I think it's just that I'm more willing to platinum a good game and more willing to replay it because it's a good game.
I completely agree.
Okay, Jason, how about you?
Now, my attention span absolutely abysmal. I a massive character flaw is usually I almost just don't care enough to, and even the thing that I love the most in life, I probably will still max out like a 70% completion rate. But I will say that in like all of the Naughty Dog PlayStation games, like all the Jack and Daxter and all the Ratchet and Clank, I would grind through those to get as much done. I don't even remember if they had trophies, but I remember they had like trophy equivalent of like Easter eggs and like Ratchet and Clank like using all the guns enough to buy the upgrades to get like the Omega versions, everything. So those are like the only games that I would really care. Like Jack and Daxter, I'm finding every single fucking orb, every single one you can get, because I want to unlock all the cool like bonus abilities. Because that game also had like a cheat code function where when you get enough of these like kind of hidden golden orbs, you could unlock different abilities and stuff, which was absolutely sick and added a ton of time to the game because you would just be looking at every square inch of this map to find every orb, so you could get like cool invincibility or never run out of whatever dark mana stuff that they use in the game. But I
Mhm.
think that's like the only games I've actually like cared enough to go back and complete stuff just because they're such fun games and the mechanics were just good enough that I wanted to keep playing. And kind of through the process of that, I just unlocked everything from just wanting to play it more.
I always regretted not playing
Yeah.
my PS2 more because I feel like Jack and Daxter, like I know a lot of people really loved them and the earlier Ratchet and Clank games too. And I never really had a chance to play them. And I feel like I really missed out because so many people have so many fond memories of those games.
Maybe this will make you feel better, but yeah, you absolutely did. You should have played those. I'm embarrassed for you that you haven't, and I hope that's some kind of consoling factor for you.
The first game I platinumed or got all of the trophies for was Batman Arkham Asylum. And it's a game I would
Really?
go back to 100 times over because the challenges in that were so engaging. You had trophies and achievements for combat. You had some for the Riddler challenges, which were some of the best collectibles in games. Like they didn't feel meaningless. Like you don't just walk to a place and pick up this item and you've got a new collectible. There's actually a challenge to it, and it had a good story with a strong voice cast. I mean, anytime you get Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy doing your Batman video game, I think you've done a great job. So, yeah, love Batman Arkham Asylum. Next topic for gaming first, your first favorite game. The first game you ever played that made you say, "This is my absolute favorite game. Nothing else can touch this."
I played
Mm.
Ocarina of Time very early on, and that one blew me away. I love playing that. I replayed it a bunch too. That was definitely my favorite.
It's probably gonna be Super Smash Bros. Melee for me. Because like while it wasn't like a story game that I was like, oh man, I love this story, I want to play it so much. It was just the game that I literally could not stop playing and just loved to talk about and wanted to play with my friends. And there was I remember when like the hype built for the Wii one for Brawl.
Mhm.
And like I was checking this like Super Smash Bros. Dojo website like every night, seeing if there was like a new character announced or something, just because of how hype Melee got me and how much I loved Melee. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and I think
definitely.
that came out around a time where story focused games weren't as big as they are now. So I don't think you have to have a
Yeah.
good story to justify it being a favorite game because yeah, I poured a ton of hours into Melee too. It was such a fun game. My pick for my first favorite game is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I it took
Nice.
everything that Ocarina of Time did and then added new wrinkles to it because you have the transforming mask mechanic. You also have the time loop, almost Groundhog Day mechanic that gave it so many new layers in terms of gameplay. And also the story. It was one of the first, in fact, probably the first really dark and melancholy story game I ever played. And I think that's what sort of kicked off my interest in dark and sad stories was this game that like even though you're playing as a kid the whole time, it's a game that's really about the inevitability of death and learning how to grieve and accept your own impending doom.
Majora's Mask. made me fall in love with creepypastas so much because I loved like that dark, sad lore in the game, and I kept wanting to learn more about that, and that took me down like a whole path into creepypastas and scary stories.
Yeah. It's a surprisingly dark game, but in a very refreshing way. And it also managed to
Yeah.
be a great game, too, at the same time. Okay, so the last category for this segment that I kind of want to do is going to be kind of a quicker one. So your house is on fire. You can grab one console and one game. What do you pick first?
Oh man.
I can go if you
Sure.
want
Yeah.
to.
Go for it.
I'm just gonna grab my Switch because it doesn't have one game. It has like 30 games on it. I've gone completely digital on the Switch, and so if I grabbed that one, I would be set for a while. I know that's kind of cheating.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, I
But
was going to say, if you, okay, well, let's say you can only
What do you
pick
mean
one
that's
game
kind of
here.
cheating?
okay. That one I might actually have to think about, Jason. Definitely.
Well, Nick, my
Look, I
solution
thought
is I'm
this was
going to
a real
grab
question.
all of my consoles and all of my games. This was
Look,
such
I
an
don't
easy
really-
question.
I don't have games anymore. Like I don't have the physical games anymore.
Okay, well, let's
Even with
imagine
PlayStation
you do.
5. Okay. Um, I'm gonna grab my PlayStation 5 with GTA 5.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good call. That's a good. That's not expected, honestly.
I just
Jason,
think
how
that
about you?
GTA 5 has so much endless content,
It
and they're
does.
literally even supporting it further this year with the PlayStation 5 update. So the length of its existence already kind of cements it as something that will give me enough playing time for an extended while. And if I wanted to, I could go play the story again, which I haven't done since it was on like Xbox 360.
That's fair. In this given scenario, just based on what I have available, I would grab my PlayStation 4, and the most recent NHL game I have is NHL 19, so I will grab that because that is the perfect game for my gaming needs. I can multiplayer that. I can pick it up and play a game or two whenever I feel like playing some. So that's probably the game I have the most hours in. And if I needed to just lock in one game as my house burns down, I would boot up NHL, and while my roommates were screaming in distress, I would just start ripping goals and be a pro.
Nick?
Okay, so for me, I'm going and I'm grabbing my PS5 and GTA 5. Same as you, Kyle.
Yeah.
Not for quite
Oh,
the same
damn it, now I
reasons,
can't
though.
play with you guys.
I'm grabbing GTA
Yeah.
5 because I love playing it with you guys. Some of
Aw.
my favorite
Aw.
memories of playing games are messing around in this game with the two of you. And so I'm grabbing that first because like you said, there's so much content that we can keep doing that. So
We can
that's
make
the
another
one I'm
movie.
grabbing. Yeah, I'm still trying to do that. I don't know why I hadn't spent more time this summer doing that. I mean, kind of got a little too deep into the Apex, but
Yeah.
might go back
Okay,
and
well
do some
now
work on that.
if you guys are both grabbing GTA 5, I'm going back into the burning house and swapping out games so I can play too, because now I don't want to be left out.
All right, but now you're dead, so
Yeah.
It
left
didn't
out
work
anyway.
out. I still risk it for the boys.
Thanks for watching. The recording for this episode went longer than expected, so we had to split it into two parts. Click here for part 2.